I stood at the kitchen counter of my childhood home, watching the steam rise from the green bean casserole I had just pulled from the oven. The familiar sense of Thanksgiving filled the air. Roasted turkey, cranberry sauce, the sweet warmth of pumpkin pie cooling on the windowsill. Outside, November rain tapped gently against the windows, and the old house creaked in that comforting way it always had. I was 58 years old, and this was my 43rd Thanksgiving in this house. Some things never change, I thought, adjusting my reading glasses as I checked the recipe card one more time. The same worn countertops, the same avocado green appliances Mom refused to replace, the same family tensions simmering just beneath the surface. My name is Margaret, though everyone calls me Maggie. I wore my gray hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, and my comfortable sweater and jeans reflected the practical approach I had always taken to life. I had been a nurse for 35 years, raised 2 children on my own after my divorce, and had learned long ago that life rarely turns out the way you plan. My sister Claire was in the living room with Mom. I could hear their voices. Claire's bright and animated, Mom's responding with that special warmth she seemed to reserve only for her younger daughter. Claire was 52, 6 years my junior, and even now I could picture her perfectly without looking, her blonde hair styled just so, her designer outfit carefully chosen, her makeup flawless even for a casual family dinner. We had never been close, Claire and I. The 6-year age gap had seemed enormous when we were children, but it was more than that. We were simply different people, shaped by different experiences, valued by our mother in very different ways. I heard footsteps behind me, and turned to see my daughter Rachel entering the kitchen. She was 28, with my same practical nature and her father's dark eyes. "Mom, do you need help with anything?" she asked, rolling up her sleeves. "You could start setting the table, sweetheart," I said, grateful for her presence. Rachel had driven 3 hours from the city to be here, leaving behind her demanding job as a social worker, to spend the holiday with family. As she gathered plates and silverware, I heard Mom's voice grow louder in the living room. "Oh, Claire, you have always had such wonderful taste. That bracelet is stunning." I felt the old familiar tightness in my chest but pushed it away. Not today, I told myself. Today we would have a pleasant family dinner. Today I would not let the old resentment surface, but life, I have learned, rarely cooperates with our carefully made plans. Dad had passed away 8 months earlier, in March. It had been sudden, a heart attack while he was working in his garden. One moment he was planting tomatoes, the next he was gone. The grief had hit all of us differently. Mom had retreated into a fog of denial. Claire had thrown herself into managing all the funeral arrangements with characteristic efficiency, and I had simply tried to hold everyone together while my own heart was breaking. Dad and I had been close. While Mom had always favored Claire, Dad had understood me. He appreciated my steadiness, my reliability, the way I showed up and did what needed to be done without fanfare or drama. Some of my sweetest memories were of sitting with him in his workshop, talking about everything and nothing while he built his woodworking projects. 3 months before he died, Dad had done something I did not discover until after the funeral. He had taken out a life insurance policy, a substantial one, $250,000. He had listed me as the primary beneficiary. I found out about it quite by accident, when a letter arrived at my house from the insurance company. I had stared at that letter for a long time, tears streaming down my face. It was so like Dad to think ahead, to try to take care of me even after he was gone. He knew I had struggled financially since my divorce, knew I was still paying off medical school loans for my son, knew my modest nurse's salary barely stretched to cover everything. But I had not filed the claim. Not yet. The reason was complicated, tangled up in family dynamics and my own sense of fairness. Mom did not know about the policy, and neither did Claire. Dad had set it up privately, had not mentioned it to anyone, and in the chaos following his death, with Mom so devastated and Claire so busy managing everything, I had quietly tucked that letter away. I told myself I was waiting for the right time to mention it, but deep down, I knew the truth. I was afraid of the conflict it would cause, afraid of Mom's reaction, afraid of disrupting the fragile peace that had settled over our grieving family. "Mom," Rachel's voice brought me back to the present. "You okay? You look a million miles away." I smiled at her and nodded. "Just thinking about Grandpa. He loved Thanksgiving." "I miss him," Rachel said softly, and I saw the sadness in her eyes. "Me too, honey. Me too." We finished setting the table in comfortable silence, and then Mom called us into the living room. It was time to eat. The dining room table looked beautiful, I had to admit. Claire had brought flowers, an elaborate arrangement of fall colors that served as the centerpiece. The good china was out, the crystal glasses sparkled, and the food covered every available surface. We took our seats, the four of us. Mom at the head of the table where Dad used to sit, Claire to her right, Rachel and me on the left. There was an empty chair at the other end, and we all carefully avoided looking at it. Mom cleared her throat. "Before we eat, I want to say something." I felt Rachel tense beside me. Mom's announcements were rarely good news. "This has been a difficult year for all of us," Mom began, her voice wavering slightly. "Losing your father, losing my Harold. It has been the hardest thing I have ever gone through." Claire reached over and squeezed Mom's hand. I sat quietly, waiting. "But I want to focus on gratitude today," Mom continued. "I am so grateful for my daughters, for my beautiful granddaughter, for the many blessings we still have." It was a nice sentiment, and I felt myself relaxing slightly. Maybe this would be a pleasant dinner after all. "And I am especially grateful," Mom said, looking directly at Claire, "for how Claire has stepped up these past months. She handled all the funeral arrangements. She has been here helping me sort through your father's things. She has been such a rock for me." I felt the words like small cuts, each one precise and stinging. It was not that anything Mom said was untrue. Claire had done all those things. But the implication was clear. Claire was the good daughter, the helpful one, the one who mattered. Never mind that I had been the one to sit with Dad in the hospital during his previous health scares. Never mind that I had been the one to check on Mom every week for years, to handle her medical appointments, to make sure she was taking her medications. Those things were invisible, expected, not worth mentioning. "Thank you, Mom," Claire said graciously, and I saw the satisfaction in her smile. We began passing dishes, filling our plates, making small talk about the weather and Rachel's job and Claire's recent vacation to Italy. I contributed when spoken to but mostly stayed quiet, lost in my own thoughts. It was halfway through the meal when Mom dropped her bombshell. "Girls," she said, setting down her fork, "there is something I need to discuss with you both, something about your father's estate." My stomach dropped. I had a sudden sinking feeling I knew what was coming. "As you know, your father and I never had much in the way of assets. The house is paid off, thank goodness, but there was not much in savings. Medical bills from his previous health issues took most of what we had set aside." Claire nodded sympathetically. I remained silent. "However," Mom continued, "Claire discovered something when she was helping me go through your father's papers. He had a life insurance policy, a substantial one." My hands gripped the edge of the table. Rachel glanced at me with concern. $250,000, Mom said, and I heard the wonder in her voice. "Can you imagine? All these years and I never knew." "It was quite a surprise," Claire said smoothly. "I found the policy documents in Dad's filing cabinet. He must have taken it out years ago and never mentioned it." I felt something cold settle in my chest. Claire had found the policy, but I had received the letter directly from the insurance company. How had Claire even known to look for it? "The thing is," Mom said, and now her voice took on a different tone, firmer, more decided, "we had to determine who the beneficiary was. Your father, bless him, he was not always the most organized about paperwork." This was a lie. Dad had been meticulous about his paperwork, had everything filed and labeled with care, but I said nothing, waiting to see where this was going. After some investigation, Claire said, jumping in, and consultation with the insurance company, we determined that Mom was the primary beneficiary. As she should be, of course. They were married for 46 years. I opened my mouth to speak, then closed it. This was not true. I had the letter from the insurance company, right at home in my desk drawer, clearly stating I was the beneficiary. But calling them liars right here at Thanksgiving dinner seemed like a step I was not quite ready to take. So, the insurance money has been paid out, Mom continued. And after much thought, I have decided to give it to Claire. The silence that followed was deafening. Even Rachel made a small sound of surprise. Mom, I said carefully, perhaps we should discuss this further before making any final decisions. There is nothing to discuss, Mom said, and her voice had gone cold. Claire has earned this. She has been there for me every step of the way. She helped with the funeral. She has been helping me sort through 46 years of marriage. She has sacrificed her time and energy to support me. But Mom, I began again, trying to keep my voice steady. I have also been here. I have been checking on you, taking you to appointments, making sure you are eating properly and taking your medications. Mom waved her hand dismissively. That is different, Margaret. That is just what you do. You are a nurse, after all. It is natural for you. But Claire, she had to rearrange her whole life, take time off from her busy career, drive hours to be here. It has been a real sacrifice for her. I felt Rachel's hand find mine under the table, squeezing tight. Besides, Mom continued, you do not need it, Margaret. You have your nursing job, you have your little house all paid off. You are comfortable. But Claire, she has expenses. She has a lifestyle to maintain, a position in the community. This money will be much more useful to her. The words hung in the air, ugly and exposed. You do not need it. As if financial stability was some character flaw. As if my years of careful budgeting and sacrifice somehow made me less deserving. I thought about my little house, paid off only because I had worked double shifts for years to make extra payments. I thought about my son's medical school loans that I was still helping him pay, about my daughter sitting beside me who had thousands in student debt from her social work degree. I thought about my own retirement account, pitifully small, because I had spent my savings helping my kids and taking care of everyone else. But more than that, I thought about Dad, about what he had intended when he took out that policy, about why he had chosen me as the beneficiary. It was not because I needed the money more than anyone else. It was because he wanted to give me something, wanted to show me that my quiet, steady presence in his life had mattered. Mom, I said quietly, I want to tell them who filed the claim. The room went completely still. Claire's face paled slightly and Mom's eyes narrowed. What are you talking about, Mom said, but there was something in her voice, a wariness. I turned to look at Claire directly. Who filed the insurance claim, Claire? My sister's perfect composure cracked, just slightly. Mom was the beneficiary. I filed it on her behalf. As power of attorney, Mom did not have power of attorney while Dad was alive, I said calmly. And the insurance company sent the claim forms directly to the beneficiary, to their house, to their address. Rachel was staring at me now, understanding beginning to dawn in her eyes. I received a letter, I said, still speaking in that same quiet, steady voice. 3 months ago, from the insurance company, addressed to me as the primary beneficiary of Dad's life insurance policy. I have it at home, if anyone would like to see it. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. That is not possible. Claire said I was the beneficiary. I am sorry, Mom, I said, and I was surprised to find that I meant it. But that is not true. Dad listed me as the primary beneficiary. He set up the policy 10 years ago, and I was named on it from the beginning. Claire's face had gone from pale to flushed. You are lying. You are making this up because you are jealous that Mom gave me the money. I am not lying, I said. And Mom did not give you anything. She gave you money that was never hers to give in the first place. Mom stood up so abruptly her chair scraped loudly against the floor. How dare you? How dare you come into my home on Thanksgiving and make these accusations? I am not making accusations, I said, standing as well. I am stating facts. Dad's insurance policy lists me as the beneficiary. The insurance company sent me the forms. I have not filed them yet, but they are sitting at my house waiting. Then why? Claire said, her voice sharp with anger. Did the insurance company send a check to Mom? Explain that, Margaret. I do not know, I admitted. But I intend to find out. Because either you forged documents claiming Mom was the beneficiary, or you somehow intercepted my mail and filed a fraudulent claim, or the insurance company made a terrible error. And none of those options reflect well on you, Claire. The Thanksgiving dinner was thoroughly ruined now. Mom was crying, Claire was shouting, Rachel was trying to calm everyone down, and I stood there feeling strangely detached from it all. You have always been jealous of me, Claire was saying, her voice rising. Always resentful that Mom and I are close, that Dad loved me best too, deep down. You cannot stand that I got the insurance money, so you are making up these lies. Something in me snapped at those words. Dad loved me best too. It was such a casual cruelty delivered with such certainty. Dad did not love you best, I said, and my voice was harder now, louder. Dad loved us both, but he understood me in a way he never understood you. He saw how hard I worked, how much I sacrificed, how little recognition I got for any of it. And he wanted to give me something. Wanted to show me that it mattered. That I mattered. Tears were streaming down my face now, months of grief and frustration finally pouring out. But you could not even let me have that, could you, Claire? You and Mom, you had to find a way to take even that away from me. Because God forbid I have something that you do not. God forbid I be valued, be recognized, be put first for once in my entire life. Mom sank back into her chair, her face in her hands. I did not know, she whispered. Claire told me I was the beneficiary. She showed me papers. I looked at my sister, at her perfect hair and her designer clothes and her carefully constructed life. What papers, Claire? Where did you get them? She did not answer, just stared at her plate. Did you go through Dad's files when you were helping Mom? Did you find the insurance information and decide to help yourself? Did you think I would never find out, never say anything, just let you steal from me because that is what I always do? Stay quiet, keep the peace, let everyone else take what they want? It was not like that, Claire said, but her voice was weak. Then how was it? I asked. Tell me, make me understand. She looked up at me, and for the first time I saw something in her eyes besides anger. Fear, shame. I found the policy information in Dad's desk, she said slowly. I saw your name as beneficiary, and I just thought it was not fair. Mom needed the money, she is all alone now. You have always been so self-sufficient, so together. I thought you could manage without it. I thought Mom deserved it more. So you committed fraud, I said flatly. You filed a false claim, pretending to be me, or to have authorization you did not have. You stole $250,000. I was trying to help Mom, Claire protested, but the excuse sounded hollow even to her. You were helping yourself, I said. Mom just told us she gave you the money, all of it. So do not pretend this was some noble act of daughterly devotion. You saw an opportunity and you took it. Mom was looking at Claire now with something like horror. Is this true? Claire, did you lie to me about the insurance? My sister's perfect facade was crumbling. I just wanted to make things right. Margaret always acts so superior, so martyred, working her nursing job and raising her kids alone, like it is some great sacrifice. You have always had the easier path, Maggie. Dad paid for your nursing school, you got the house in the divorce, your kids turned out fine. I have had to fight for everything I have. I almost laughed at the absurdity of it. The easier path? Claire, I worked full-time while going to nursing school because Dad's contribution barely covered tuition. I got the house in the divorce because it was falling apart and Mark did not want it. And my kids turned out fine because I raised them by myself, working double shifts to keep food on the table. But you always had Dad's approval, Claire said. And now she was crying too. No matter what I did, how successful I became, he always looked at you with this pride, this respect. Like you were the good one, the one who mattered. Do you know what that felt like? To always be second best? The irony of her words was not lost on me. You think you were second best with Dad? Claire, I have been second best with Mom my entire life. Every accomplishment I had was met with indifference. Every struggle I faced alone. But the moment you walked into a room, Mom lit up. You were the favorite from the day you were born. Mom made a sound of protest, but I held up my hand. It is true, Mom, and you know it. You have always preferred Claire. And that is fine, I have made peace with it. Parents are allowed to have favorites, even if they are not supposed to. But this is different. This is not about preference or affection. This is about right and wrong. This is about honoring what Dad wanted. I turned back to Claire. Dad chose me as his beneficiary for a reason. Maybe it was because he knew I would use the money wisely. Maybe it was because he wanted to balance out a lifetime of Mom favoring you. Maybe it was just because he loved me and wanted to give me something. But it was his choice to make, and you stole it. The room was silent except for the sound of crying. Mom, Claire, even Rachel had tears streaming down her face. What are you going to do? Claire finally asked, her voice small. I thought about it. I thought about calling the police, reporting the fraud, watching my sister face criminal charges. I thought about the satisfaction of seeing her perfect life unravel, of finally being the one who came out on top. But I also thought about Dad, about what he would want, and I knew, with absolute certainty, that he would not want this. He would not want his death to tear the family apart, would not want his daughters at war, would not want his wife's final years poisoned by legal battles and recriminations. I am going to call the insurance company on Monday, I said. I am going to inform them that a fraudulent claim was filed, and that I am the actual beneficiary. I am going to request that the money be returned and properly dispersed. They will prosecute, Mom said, her voice breaking. Claire could go to jail. That depends on how Claire handles this, I said, looking at my sister. If she cooperates, if she returns the money immediately and fully, if she admits what she did, then maybe we can resolve this without involving law enforcement. But that is up to her. Claire nodded slowly, not meeting my eyes. I will return it, all of it. I have not spent any of it yet. It is just sitting in an account. I will transfer it back tomorrow. Not to Mom, I said firmly. The insurance company will handle the proper distribution. I do not want any more confusion about where this money came from, or who it belongs to. Okay, Claire whispered. I picked up my purse, and Rachel immediately stood with me. We are going to go now, I said. I think we all need some time to process this. Margaret, please, Mom said, reaching out toward me. Please do not leave like this. It is Thanksgiving. I know what day it is, Mom, I said. And I was surprised by how calm I felt, how clear. But I need to go home now. I need to think about what happens next. Rachel and I walked to the door, and I paused with my hand on the knob. I turned back to look at my mother and sister, both of them crying, both of them looking somehow smaller than they had an hour ago. For what it is worth, I said quietly, I did not want it to be like this. I would have shared the money, if you had just asked. I would have helped Mom, made sure she was comfortable and secure. That is who I am. But you never even gave me the chance to be generous. You just took, because you thought you deserved it more, because you thought I would not fight back. I am sorry, Claire said, and she sounded like she meant it. I am so sorry, Maggie. I am sorry too, I said. Sorry that it came to this. Sorry that Dad is not here to see what his death did to us. Sorry that we could not be better than this. Rachel and I walked out into the November rain, and I felt something shift inside me. Not closure exactly, but something like it. A sense of finality, of choices made and bridges crossed. We sat in my car for a long moment before I started the engine, rain drumming on the roof, the windows fogging with our breath. "Mom," Rachel said finally, "I am proud of you." I looked at her in surprise. For what? For ruining Thanksgiving? For exposing my sister's fraud? For making my mother cry? For standing up for yourself, Rachel said firmly. For not letting them walk all over you. For honoring what Grandpa wanted. I know that was not easy. It was the hardest thing I have ever done, I admitted, and felt fresh tears starting. But I could not let it go. I could not pretend it did not matter. "It does matter," Rachel said. "You matter, Mom. You have always mattered. And it is about time everyone in this family acknowledged that." We drove home through the rain, and I thought about family, about love and loyalty and the complicated ways we hurt each other. I thought about Dad, about the gift he had tried to give me, about the message he had been trying to send. "You matter," his policy seemed to say. "Your steadiness, your sacrifices, your quiet presence in my life, it all mattered. And I want to show you that even after I am gone." The next few weeks were difficult. Claire returned the money to the insurance company, who apologized profusely for the error in their process that had allowed the fraudulent claim to go through. They launched an internal investigation and eventually discovered that Claire had forged my signature on the claim forms, using information she had found in Dad's files. They asked if I wanted to press charges. I declined. The money was being returned, and putting my sister in prison would not bring Dad back or heal our family. Mom called several times, crying, apologizing, begging me to forgive them. I was not ready yet, I told her. I needed time, but eventually, as Christmas approached, I agreed to meet with them. Just coffee, neutral territory, a chance to talk without the weight of Thanksgiving dinner and revelation hanging over us. We sat in a small cafe, the three of us, surrounded by holiday decorations and cheerful music that felt at odds with our somber faces. "I have been thinking a lot," Mom said, stirring her coffee without drinking it. "About the kind of mother I have been. About the choices I made. And I realize now that I failed you, Margaret. I favored Claire, I took you for granted, I did not appreciate or acknowledge all that you did. And I am sorry." It was not the first apology she had offered, but it was the first one that felt real, that felt like it came from genuine understanding, rather than just a desire to smooth things over. "I am sorry too," Claire said. "What I did was wrong on so many levels. I let jealousy and entitlement convince me that I deserved something that was not mine, and I am working on that, on understanding why I felt that way, on being better." She told me she had started seeing a therapist, was talking through some of the family dynamics we had all navigated for so long. "It was a start. I appreciate the apologies," I said carefully, "and I want to move forward, to find a way to be a family again. But I need you both to understand that things will be different now. I am not going to be the one who stays quiet, who keeps the peace at the expense of my own well-being. I am not going to be invisible anymore." "We understand," Mom said, and reached across the table to take my hand. "And we will do better. I will do better." It was not a perfect reconciliation. There was still hurt, still anger, still wounds that would take time to heal. But it was something, a beginning. The insurance money, when it finally came through after all the complications were resolved, was everything Dad had intended it to be. A gift, a blessing, a tangible reminder that I was valued. I paid off my son's remaining medical school debt. I contributed to Rachel's student loans. I put a substantial amount into my retirement account, securing my future in a way I had never been able to before. And I donated $50,000 to the hospital where Dad had received care, to the cardiac unit where the doctors had tried so hard to save him. In his name, with a plaque that read Harold Mitchell, who loved his family and taught his daughters the meaning of quiet strength. Mom cried when she saw it, standing in the hospital corridor looking at Dad's name on the wall. "He would have loved this," she whispered. "He would have been so proud of you, Margaret." "I know," I said. "I know he was." That Christmas was quiet but genuine. We gathered again, the four of us, and this time there was no pretense, no hidden resentments simmering beneath forced smiles. We were honest with each other, acknowledged our flaws, tried to do better. It was not the family I had grown up with, but perhaps it was the family we needed to become. One where people were valued for who they were, where gifts were honored and intentions respected, where love was expressed not just through words but through actions, through acknowledgement, through the courage to be honest even when it was hard. Dad had left me more than money. He had left me the push I needed to claim my own worth, to demand recognition, to refuse to be invisible. And in doing so, he had given all of us a chance to become better versions of ourselves. Some nights I still sat in my quiet house, thinking about him, missing him with an ache that never fully faded. But I also felt grateful. Grateful for the years we had, for the understanding between us, for the final gift he had given me. Not just the insurance money, though that had changed my life in practical ways, but the message behind it, the clear statement that I mattered, that my contributions were seen, that my worth was not measured by how much I sacrificed or how quiet I stayed. I mattered. I had always mattered. And finally, after 58 years, I truly believed it. The rain had stopped, and winter sunlight streamed through my kitchen window. I poured myself a cup of tea and sat at the table where I had sat 1,000 times before. But everything was different now. I was different. I thought about the letter I still kept in my desk drawer, the one from the insurance company that had started everything. Sometimes the truth arrives in the most unexpected packages, delivered by the most ordinary mail, and sometimes standing up for yourself, claiming what is yours, refusing to be diminished. That is not selfishness. That is survival. That is self-respect. That is honoring the people who loved you enough to want better for you. Thank you, Dad, I whispered to the empty kitchen. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for the gift. Thank you for teaching me, one final time, that my voice deserves to be heard. Outside, life continued. Neighbors walked their dogs, cars passed by, the world turned as it always had. But inside, in the quiet sanctuary of my home, I felt something I had not felt in a very long time. Peace. Not the forced peace of swallowing resentment and maintaining appearances, but real peace, earned through truth and courage and the willingness to risk everything for what was right. And it was worth it. Every difficult moment, every hard conversation, every tear shed, it was all worth it, because I had finally learned what Dad had been trying to teach me all along. That kindness does not mean silence. That love does not require self-erasure. That being good does not mean being a doormat. And that sometimes the kindest thing you can do, for yourself and for others, is to simply tell the truth. Even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. That is the story of how a Thanksgiving dinner changed everything. How a sister's betrayal became a catalyst for healing. How an insurance policy became so much more than money. It became freedom. It became vindication. It became proof that all those years of quiet sacrifice had been seen, had mattered, had been worth something to someone who loved me. And in the end, that was the greatest gift of all. If this story touched your heart, or reminded you of the importance of standing up for yourself and honoring those who truly saw your worth, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and subscribe to our channel for more stories of courage, family, and the wisdom that comes with life experience. Leave a comment below, telling us about a time you had to stand up for yourself. We would love to hear your story.